I've been repeatedly asked to get into the topic of lust. Um, I thought about it, wasn't quite sure, and then somebody's recent message was like, nobody will talk about it, or they act like it's not a real thing or it's not a problem or whatever. And I'm like, okay. All of a sudden, bells are clanging. Like, yeah, that's a pretty sincere request, and I should see what I could possibly be used to deliver as a message that's useful. So I'm sitting with it. I don't have a strategy here. It's an interesting thing because I don't know where to start. Let's start with the fact that um, I've made some mistakes in the past that way myself, as many of you have. So that's actually probably a good thing because people that act like or think they haven't made mistakes are generally not very useful to anybody else. I've also changed a lot in my relationship to the whole topic, and really only through cultivating a higher spiritual awareness and perception within myself is it easier now to see certain things more clearly. And so, before we even get going, I know people judge each other and themselves on these topics, and I want you to know no matter what I say in this video, none of this is actually a judgment on anybody. We're just looking at some things, okay, from some different perspectives. So, if it sounds judgy, remember that's your inner critic or that's your conditioning, and that's not what it is. Trust me, it's 100% spirit. Well, you don't have to trust me, and most people don't when I say stuff like this, but it's 100% spiritually true that you can't condemn or shame yourself out of anything. You'll only get yourself stuck in it worse. And you can't condemn or shame anybody else out of anything. You only get them stuck in it worse and possibly yourself too, because you're not looking at how what you're judging is yourself or you refuse to see it. So, hmm. So people are struggling with lust, and of course, in society, every indulgence is made easier and easier, if possible, for you to be trapped in, so that you will be comfortably going along with the beast system, and you'll be so entertained and so gluttonously distracted that you won't face what you're a part of and ever wake up to and do something to change your life. You won't ever come out of it. From the higher ups, so called perspective, that's really what the agenda is. There's also the fact that the more total sin or mistake or error or misperception or incorrectness or untruth everybody's living in, the harder it is for anything to ever be changed. And there's the fact that the human earthly mind, who sometimes thinks it's spiritual, likes to blindly follow institutions' leads on things, and really it's just a cop out to get out of personal spiritual accountability for your own decisions. Because personal accountability for your own spiritual choices and spiritual development sounds scary. And those same institutions have done their best to make it sound really scary so you wouldn't even try. They don't want you to have the fruitful experience of realizing that it's not scary and you shouldn't be listening to them. It's what you came for and it's what's greatest. It's what's most wonderful. A lot of people, I've heard some of the rhetoric and I'm aware of the patterns that everybody follows in the world, and I'm sure a lot of you are dealing with this like struggle with how it's weakness. Why do I keep doing it? I'm going to try this strategy. I'm going to do what so and so said, and then I'm going to have superpowers. And I can understand these kind of ideas and stuff, but they're generally just divisive. The real truth will come back to the simplest thing again. It'll come back to the golden rule: do unto others as you'd have them do unto you. Well, how does that apply, man? Well, you have to actually look. You have to listen and you have to look. For example, the other day somebody's talking to me about it, and he's worried about his physical erectile dysfunction or something. And before I got into that with him about how to physically work on such things, I asked him, "So this relationship you're in, is this something you picture being like a long-term thing? Is this a real commitment?" "Oh, no, no, this is just a temporary whatever." And so then I'm like, "Okay, do you picture yourself ever having like kids one day?" "Yeah, okay." If you have a daughter, are you going to be okay with somebody using her the same way that you're using this other person right now? And I get no answer for a while. And then I assured him, look, it's not about judging. I'm not judging you. You're probably judging yourself right now, but that's it's not me judging you. It's not even you judging you. It's just the truth. The truth is what stands between you and what you're doing that's not true. It might feel like judgment, but it's meant to be a meaningful reflection. So, and then we were able to go on a little further with the conversation. But the point was, I'm not here to be a genie and you rub the bottle and I tell you how to use your physical parts better so you can go feed your lusts and get yourself further entrenched in addictions and greed. The point is, let's look at some of the root causes. There's actually an internal conflict. And by asking certain questions, I cause the person to see that they're not actually okay with what they're doing. They're just not looking at it. They don't want to look at it. In a world that believes in separation, you can lie to yourself and say, well, what I'm doing here over here is not connected to somebody else doing whatever to somebody else. But of course it is. It is. And what you do to others, you're doing to yourself. If you're using someone, you're being used. It's a spiritual principle. So the more you give into your sins, or whatever word you'd like to insert there, the more blinded you become. That's the price. Blind eyes, deaf ears, inability to even look at the obvious, and unwillingness as your heart becomes hardened. So, in a sense, it is weakness because you didn't come into the world to cultivate spiritual darkness and lostness and just be weighed down by weakness of lust and greed. And if you think about lust, it is just another form of greed. You might be using other human bodies, or some people even use other kinds of bodies, or who knows what. But anyway, it's just a form of greed. You know, material greed is just a different kind of gratification, but these are all just gratifications of the beast like animal nature, okay? There are different levels of energy in a human. Most have, since the various falls of man, told in different stories like the flood and the story of Noah. And a lot of these things are symbolic and misinterpreted, but you can sort of look at the pattern over time. Fall after fall after fall. So man keeps justifying living in deeper depravity. And he does it so he can feel comfortable by giving into the beast instead of aiming for to be governed by his own higher capacities, which he's also been trained to believe he doesn't have. So it really depends what your motives are here. And when you focus on the trap of lust itself, you're just giving it power. Oh, it's so strong, it's got a grip on me, yada yada. And there's all these negative spirits assuring you that that's true, putting thoughts in your head about it. And every time you give into one of those, you train yourself to be stuck in lower consciousness more and more so, giving into the beast like nature. The symbolism of the beast that the world follows, guys, there's a lot of different variations of what that means. But in the physical flesh of all of us is a beast. The thing that makes us different from animals is that we have the potential to govern the beast, not only our own flesh, our own beast, but to cultivate well being among all the other creatures too. That's really what the original possibility was. And it can be restored, but we have to restore it instead of waiting for someone else to do it for us while we continue to feed the lower nature and destroy everything on the planet. Do unto others. Look at the divorce rates, okay? Look at how people go into it already with selfish motives, with prenuptial agreements. If this doesn't work out, if you don't gratify me and do what I want enough, I want to make sure I get out of this with more than you. There's no love there. You're already choosing to go in a relationship without love, make legal contracts under the beast system, and then hurt each other, cause a bunch of harm and adultery and pain and suffering and theft and lies, and just, you know, you can pretty much list almost all the 10 commandments if you want to right there. Or you could break it down to the two and make it simple. Love God with all your heart and all your strength, and love your neighbor as yourself. You wouldn't do any of these things to somebody else if you loved him as yourself, or if you even knew what love was, or if you were focusing on love instead of beast-like things. But the whole world's always telling you, be a beast, the way of the beast, it's the natural thing, be a beast. It's all lies, and it's all stupid, and it's all deranged, and this is how lives got so short and ignorant and dark to begin with. And somewhere inside you, you might know that, and if you don't, you reject this message, fine. Be a beast, crawl the ground. Do what you're going to do. It's a choice, but if you want out of it, the way out is repentance, which means just turn away from it. Don't do something else beast-like and whip and flog yourself and others for their weakness and their beast-likeness. That's just abuse. That's just sin adding to sin, darkness on darkness. The way out is to turn your heart to God, a humble, repentant heart, like, I'm sorry, I don't want to be like this. Help me. And if you mean it, you will get that help to whatever degree you mean it. And if you're justifying yourself with any other lie, you're not going to get out of it at all. Ever. I mean, there's really no time limit. Blessed is the man who eats the lion and the lion becomes the man. Cursed is the man who the lion eats the man and the lion becomes the man. And yes, I said that right. They both end with the lion becoming the man. So consider carefully what they mean. Ponder it if you will. I suppose I'll translate a little of it for you. You have within you what it takes to be a man, what it takes to be a beast, what it takes to discover that you're part of the divine. You're a son or daughter of God. Now, institutions will tell you you're not, but there's all kinds of contradictions, even in their own contradicted writings, that prove what they're saying isn't true. So, depending depending on which aspect of you you're aware of and where you're looking at this from, you'll either realize what the way out is. Those who hunger and thirst for righteousness, they're blessed because theirs is the kingdom of heaven. And we're not talking about buying tickets to some show in the clouds someday. That's a cop out on the here and now and the whole point of this. Blessed are those who hunger and thirst for righteousness because theirs is the kingdom of heaven. Right here and right now, to what degree you hunger and thirst for it. You could flip the coin the other way and say something like, cursed are those who hunger and thirst for depravity and greed and selfishness and lust because theirs is the kingdom of hell. Right here and now. The consequence is baked right into what you're choosing to do. If you're going to feed the lower nature, you're going to become more beast-like. You're going to become spiritually ignorant and blind, and you're going to be stuck in that. You're going to live in fear and darkness and judgment and hatred and anger and projection and greed and lust and all these things, and you're going to be a slave to them. He who goes on sinning is a slave to sin. So if you've been taught something like, no, I'm covered in the blood of the innocent, therefore I'm not a sinner before God, I mean, how depraved and insane is that? How can you even believe something like that? Do you not see the inherent depravity and selfishness of even entertaining something that evil? If you can't see it, it's because you're already entertaining the beast nature within you. So you can worship images and do blood rituals and pretend that has something to do with you being made righteous, but those who hunger and thirst for righteousness, theirs is the kingdom of heaven. Not those who hunger and thirst for ways to justify never even hungering and thirsting for righteousness. It is what it is, guys. The truth is already within you. Now, it's also true that in a world like this, if you start seeking and hungering and thirsting for righteousness, you're not going to probably have a lot of support. It's probably going to cost you. That's what it means to deny yourself and pick up your cross and follow Yeshua, which the original writing probably wasn't cross, but anyway, regardless, pick up a burden and follow. You're going to be divided, you're going to be reviled, you're going to be mistreated, you're going to be thrown away and cut off by others, you're going to be misunderstood. Don't judge anybody. See it for what it is. If you're seeing something from the higher perspective, you get it and you understand the value, and you're not going to let worldly things stop you. If you're struggling with the beast nature and you're approaching it from a beast level, all you're ever going to do is struggle beast to beast within yourself like a beast. It's like the darkness fighting with the darkness, pretending that that's the way out of the darkness, and I see this everywhere. This is what the world does. It's not going to work. Let's examine for a second what you're told marriage is and what it really is. If you make the two one inside of yourself, now this can mean a lot of things, right and left hemisphere of the brain, heart consciousness, married to head consciousness. The world's missing both. There are inner marriages that are supposed to occur within you for you to understand things like this. So if you're divorced already on the inside and fractured due to a bunch of false beliefs about reality and God and creation, you're not going to be able to live some outer reality that doesn't align with it. So before you get yourself into a legal contract in the beast system because now you're married to somebody thinking that that's going to make something work, it won't. Look at the statistics. Don't be afraid of statistics or you're just going to be a statistic. Have an honest look at something. Why is it that institution doesn't work? Because no institutions of man ever worked. You worship institutions, you're worshiping a beast. If you're ever going to come out of the beast metaphorically or physically or anything else, it has to start within you. Nobody else can do that for you. You've been lied to, but it doesn't work that way. Nobody can do that for you. In most areas of life, well, in some area of life, you probably know this. You probably recognize that nobody can do it for you. You have to do it yourself. You want to build some muscle mass? Do you think that somebody else can deal with that resistance for you and then you're going to grow from it? Nobody's that foolish in any area except where they choose to be blind. Okay? Same with spiritual truth. So, what are you aiming for? Are you and where are you looking at it from? And where would you like to go with it? What is a real marriage? A real marriage is an actual commitment to bring love to another. When both bring love, not one, not neither, when both are there to give love from themselves as the source of it, not someone empty of it needing to vampire or possess or steal it or choke it out of somebody else, when both are there to bring it and give it to the other as the source of it, you have a marriage. That legal contract, that paper in the beast system, if the two of you decide to get into that for strategic reasons in life, that could serve a purpose at that point. But a piece of paper from an institution has nothing to do with what a marriage is. And it has nothing to do with what love is. And as long as people are going to worship idolatry, papers and books and institutions, they're never going to experience what love is, ever. And if you keep listening to people that are divisively dividing male and female, dividing different types of facial groups and racial groups and political groups and religious groups and divide, 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 and you wonder why nothing works, it's not a wonder. It's obvious. So check yourself first. If you want to know what love is, you have to become it. You're never going to be able to vampire it out of someone else in order to fill the hole where it's not in you. All you're doing is killing, stealing, and destroying when you do that. There is a path of light and a path of dark, a path of life, a path of death. It's powerfully simple. If you don't see it, it's probably because you don't want to yet. If you face it for what it is, yeah, it'll probably be uncomfortable. And you're probably going to have to go through a lot of uncomfortable stages in your life if you actually dedicate yourself to that light of truth. I'll be honest with you. But if you're ever going to have like real love in your life, you're going to have to go through the divisions and the terror parts of all the things that aren't real love. And at some point, whatever lust pattern you're trapped in, it's just not going to be appealing anymore if you do that. Instead of feeling temporarily good to you at some physical level because you're totally identified with a beast part of yourself, and then feeling bad later like, something feels off about living for animal pleasure and depriving myself of everything that I really should be more interested in. Something inside me senses this isn't good for me or anybody else. Well, that's what it is. It means you still have a soul. Congratulations. You need to accept that this illusionary dream of a life most people are not very lucid in is very short. You're not your race. You're not your gender. None of these things are going to leave a legacy or make you immortal. What did you actually try to figure out what you actually came for? The muscle building metaphor is really good for a lot of spiritual things. It's very similar. It's easy to see, especially if you came to a channel like this. It's an object lesson. This is another reason why you shouldn't be afraid of failure as long as you're using it to get clearer and stronger. You get under a weight too heavy and drop it on yourself. I've done it many times. Some of you have too. So what? You learned something and your body was exposed to something and it realized, okay, I need to get stronger for that. And it does. If that's your focus and your vision. Same spiritually. If you don't like the weakness, if you don't like being a slave to weakness, if you're not enjoying being a slave to sin, congratulations, you're being honest with yourself. There is wisdom in that. You're already experiencing some wisdom. There are those that will not acknowledge that, and they will chase that sin into further and darker and more depraved places, And they will be enslaved by a legion of spirits, and their life won't be their own anymore at all. And that is terrifying, that that's the reality. When you choose to entertain the beast, you're not a beast. Just because you have a physical form doesn't mean you were meant to descend into being a beast. This is why humans used to live 1,000 years, and now they're living closer and closer to the level of an animal. There's animals that outlive humans now. Turtles. So apparently turtles are actually living in closer alignment to what enlightenment would be than humans at this point. Principles are principles, guys. You're here to use them and wield them how you will. A lot of the most powerful spiritual teachers or leaders or miraculous healers or whatever put aside that part of their beast-like nature and channeled all that energy into higher purposes. Higher purposes, spiritual purposes, not lowly, gross manipulation and control and sorceristic nonsense over others. Becoming the source of unconditional love and healing requires putting aside selfish things and weak things. To whatever degree you do that, the results will be real. It's your choice. It's yours to work with. You're being told everything else. Everything else. No, the power's over here. No, the power's over there. When you're tired of it, you'll do something about it. So it's all about how much you're willing to be a slave to sin and justify it with whatever lie you want to tell yourself. But the problem is, you go blind. You go blind doing that. And then somebody will come along someday and tell you the clear truth, and you won't understand it at all. It'll be like an animal trying to hear what they're saying. But you weren't born to be an animal. The animals needed us to lead them into something better, not us to lead ourselves into trying to be them. It's beyond absurd. It's embarrassing. It's ridiculous. It's like wallowing in filthy mud of ignorance spiritually, and you know it. And that's why it's not comfortable. So I'm sorry to hear that nobody's out there giving any honest discussion about this. The truth is, it's already been told to you, but it's been obscured by institutions and a bunch of other things that get in the way of the simple truth as always. But there it is. Testified to you out of love. There's no judgment here. It's on you. What do you want? You can't serve two masters. You're either serving one or the other. You serve the beast, you go the way of the beast. You'll be riddled with worms and ignorance just like a beast. And you'll thrash around in the mud, and your worms will never die, and you'll just be gnashing your teeth in darkness and ignorance. Or you can go the way of the light and truth and the higher. You'll get to a point where you accept that you're one with God, and then there's no more illusions like that anymore. But if you're outside of that, in the outer darkness, weeping and gnashing your teeth about these things, you need to strip away the lies and illusions, turn to God and approach with an open, humble heart, understanding that you're a child. You're forever a teeny little child. All the things you think you know, you don't. The truth is profoundly simple. Simple doesn't mean easy. It takes constant rededication. Just because you've had a flash of brilliance or awareness or insight or something like that, you're not done. You're not even started. There is no done. It's an eternal thing. To me, that's good news. To some people, it's really bad news because they keep digging themselves into darker places with no time limit on that. There's two simple paths in anything. No choice is neutral. If you want to be honest with yourself, ask what it's serving. Don't just think about yourself. Oh, poor little me, I'm stuck with this and that. Think about everybody involved. If you have an addiction to porn and you think, well, I'm not really hurting anybody, what are you feeding? You realize that anything you watch on the internet gets more clicks and views and gets more gravity and gets spread more to others, and somebody's making money and power and influence off of it, right? So then that same video or whatever gets promoted more and more people get hooked on it. And who are these people involved? Who are, if you're male and you're wired like most of us males, who are all these females, and what situation in their life led to them being used that way, and now we're all just going to vicariously use them that way? See, this is another problem with the spiritual ignorance of thinking that we're all separate from each other. Put yourself in the other person's shoes. If you can't picture yourself being the female, picture that being your daughter, or your wife, or your mother, or any female you've ever cared about if you had. Try. Cultivate some clear vision on what you're doing. Just because that person's deceived into what's happening to them, should you really be helping them be deceived into it? Should you be adding to it? Should you be taking advantage of it? It's rhetorical questions. You know the answer, right? What are you feeding? Are you feeding life or death? Are you feeding growth or destruction within yourself and within life itself? Are you the divine caretaker of this creation? Are you the ignorant spiritual darkness that's destroying it? The cool thing is you have free will and you can be either one, and you can change. You can go from light to dark. You can go from dark to light. It isn't about somebody else or something or some institution outside yourself, guys. Those are all lies and cop-outs. It's inside you. What are you feeding? What are you choosing? A house divided won't stand. If your house feels divided, make a choice. Choose a direction. Doesn't mean you'll never slip. No, it doesn't. It means that those that hunger and thirst for righteousness will just get right back up and start pursuing it again after they slipped. If any of you are parents and you haven't had your mind polluted too much and you don't like hurting your kids or anything else, you can observe this. You see your kid do something you know isn't healthy. What are you going to do? Beat it out of them? And if your answer is yes, like I'm not really talking to you, I'm talking to people that have some kind of love in their heart. You're going to threaten it out of them? You're going to terrify them into being good? You're going to use darkness to force light? You think it works that way? What do you really want to see from them? You want to help them recognize, or just let them recognize for themselves, that I don't like this. I don't like how it feels participating in these kind of things. I think I'll go a different way. I think I'll turn back to something positive. I think I'll be a part of making things better instead of worse. And don't let institutions tell you what's better. It's another trick. It just keeps making things worse. Look for the real answer. It's profoundly simple. It's always about the golden rule. It's always about love God with all you have and love your neighbor as yourself. Who's your neighbor? Not just the guy next to you, whether you like him or not. It's everybody. When you pass by that homeless person because you don't want to get germs on you, that's you're abandoning in a hole. And you're going to experience that spiritually. It's also God. It's what Yeshua told you. Whatever you're doing to anybody, you're doing to me. Spiritual principles. If you listen to institutions, you can't hear them. If you look inside yourself honestly and you start reflecting, you will. It's always a choice, guys. It's always a choice. And people, the beast-like ego and its narratives and its desire to just do depraved things and justify it, you can lie to yourself. And you can tell your own lies to others. But the more you lie to others, the more you're just lying to yourself. It's a spiritual principle. They're inescapable because they're perfect. The universe would be a chaotic destruction if they weren't perfect. They're not going to change. You can align with truth, you can disalign with truth, and there's consequences or rewards or whatever accordingly. And it is that simple, and you can do it. You've been told a lot of nonsense about how depraved and weak and sick and filthy and dark you really are. And you got a bunch of spirits whispering it in your ears, and the more susceptible to that you are, the more you're going to believe it. But it's all lies. If you want to cultivate the kingdom of heaven within you, do it and stop believing the lies and bring it to earth. Quit trying to buy tickets to some freak show in the illusionary future and be now what you're choosing. Be the light or be the darkness. This is your choice, whether you're making it consciously or unconsciously. And if you want to be lucid in this dream, make it a conscious choice. Practice. That's what you're here for. Cultivate. Practice. Bear fruit. If you have fertile soil within you, you'll hear these words and they'll grow. If you're weak within yourself, somebody's going to take this from you. You're going to turn right around and somebody else is going to talk you right back out of this. Or all the cares and stresses of the world, which, yes, you're under many, they're going to choke this out of you like thorns. Are you going to let that happen? Are you going to be fertile soil and bear fruit? All simple, simple parables for the same things, guys. If you want to have the eyes to see and the ears to hear, you will and you do. You have to want it. You have to choose it. Ain't nobody else going to do it for you, especially by bathing in the blood of the innocent and all the nonsense you've been taught. Get real. Get real. You want real results? You want real results within you and then externally to make a difference in the world? Get real. Because you can. You do have the power. Anybody says you don't is lying to you. What do you hunger and thirst for? Physical gratification, wealth and status, worldly acceptance from your peers? I mean, pick your cult. You'll get all kinds of acceptance from your peers, and you'll be empty spiritually. Wisdom is to choose the one thing of value and ignore all the rest, regardless of the external worldly cost, because you're building something of much more value. And if you know, you know. And now you've been told, because I love you. All right, guys. And you can, you can, you can. Because I know what you really are, even if you don't yet. You might have to take it from me now and try it. I hope you don't, but you might have to hear it from me. But if you're hearing it from me, you're actually hearing it from He who sent me and He who sent you. He, she, it, which sent us. You're hearing the truth. If you're not hearing the truth, then you're not hearing the truth, and it's your choice also. And you will reap what you sow. It's a perfect system. It always was. Make your choice. I love you. And remember that your choice is always in the present now. That's why repentance is a real thing. If you get tired of being a slave to sin, do it. Turn around. I'm sorry, God. Lead me into righteousness. I'm tired of descending into animal madness and disgusting darkness. I'm sick of it. I've had enough. You'll know. These are just the basic reflections we all get to reflect on and choose. It's no different for me than it is for you. The same things apply to everyone. What you hear and what you see here is like looking into a pool of water and seeing a reflection. All right, I love you guys. Enough for now.